piles of stuff that I've just got stacked up. I've got a lovely sofa here in my studio, which is really lovely, and very occasionally I actually get to sit on it. But this is like all the piles of stuff that I've taken off. Down here I've got some of my papers that I use, a big box of papers for painting and doing painting and printing and stuff. All my magazines. What have I got down here? I've got another pile of frames. All this stuff that usually lives in my cupboard. So I'm going to start sorting it all out, clean up the cupboard, and then we'll be able to get it back on and I'll show you bits and bobs that I'm putting back in. This is my lovely cupboard. My friend Lorraine used to have a quilt shop in town, and her husband made this beautiful cupboard, and one day she said to me when she was finishing up her business, she said, "Would I like this cupboard?" And it used to be dark brown, and I painted it white, and I've had it in my studio for a very long time now, and I absolutely love it because down here it's got big, oh there's my hand, look, it's got these really big cupboards down at the bottom, and then these lovely shelves that I use to display things on. So I open the door, and then we can kind of look inside. My wonderful husband has put me a back on the inside, which means the mouse can't get in. Isn't that fantastic? First bit, books. Can't have too many books on creative subjects. Some of these are absolutely delicious. This was one that a friend gave me. It's called The Art of Knitting, which is really weird because I do knit. I'm not a great knitter, but I love knitting. But inside this book are the most beautiful photographs, which is why I keep it on my shelf, because it's one to go to, just to look at the photography in it is just fantastic. So it has a very pride of place on my shelf. That's the fact that my friend gave it to me. So I'm not going to show you them all because there's like going to be far too many to discuss. I could do a whole week's worth of videos and just show you all my books, but I'm not going to do that. These books, they're all my old friends really. This one takes me back to doing my degree course. It's called The Subversive Stitch by Rosika Parker. If you're into sort of feminist statements using stitch, then that's a really good book to work from. And then I've got Scandinavian Stitching, which is free machine embroidery, a really nice book for free machine embroidery. But then I've also got hand stitching books, because you never know when a lovely motif might just inspire you to do something on your machine. Oh, and I have to say, I have a collection of some of these beautiful old books, Pictorial Guide to Modern Home Needlecraft. Isn't that wonderful? And it's got wonderful things in here to do. I'm making collars, plackets. The word placket is a very underused word, don't you think? And all of this, you know, can feed some of my conceptual art, the idea of women doing all of these things, and the usefulness that it is to be able to make your own clothes, you know. Look at those, isn't that great? Patterns, if I wanted to make patterns, or if I just want to use those as illustrations for things, just great. So, you know, nothing's too old. I've got books on things that I don't actually do. This is Nuno felting, which I have had a go at. It's a really nice book. And again, I don't know why I keep these things, because it's got lovely illustrations like that in, which can perhaps inspire me. I love all the textures in it. I love the texture that you get for Nuno felting, if you've ever done it. It's where you put wool fibres, wool tops onto fabric, and it shrinks it up when you felt it. So you get really lovely textures. So that's another one. think you describe my book collection as eclectic. This one's called Drawing Projects for Children by Paula Briggs, and I bought it because I was at a time when I really wanted to get back into my drawing, and it's a super book because children just have no boundaries or no worries. They don't worry about things, and it just explains things really, really nicely. So if you want a really basic book on how to draw yourself, that's a really good book. And this book is a very old book. This was the first book that I bought on free machine embroidery. I didn't even know it was called free machine embroidery. This is called thread painting, and this was the book I bought that got me going, that I took the foot off my sewing machine and had a go at doing this amazing thing. So that's a very old book, and I keep that because it's a reminder of where I came from. I have so many lovely books. I'm so blessed. I just wish you could be here. I wish you could be here to see them all. And I think you'd all choose a different book because you'd all have a different interest and a different angle. So there you go. I'm really grateful to the little mouse, I have to say, because it's made me look at all my lovely things again with a different eye. So now's the fun bit. I'm going to start putting back my treasures. And just play around. This is a bowl that I made. It's felted using my needle felting machine. There was a time when I really wanted to make big bowls and experiment. It's really soft. It looks like it's been hand felted actually, or wet felted, but nope, it's been done with my needle felting embellishing machine. And I've got lovely things like this. This is by Emily Notman, who went to the college that I went to, not at the same time, but I have one or two of her lovely pieces, and I'll leave a link down below to her work. Too much. I'll put that down here. Do you know, I think you just can't underestimate how nice it is just to fiddle around with your possessions, whatever they are, whatever cupboard they're in, or whatever display cabinet you've got. I think just playing around with your own things is so nice. It's been lovely. I've sort of reacquainted myself with some of my books here, which has been super. I've even got this one. It's very, very basic, illustrated. Teach Yourself Embroidery by Jean Kinmond. And this was given to me by my mum and dad when I was very young, a lot younger than I am now. And it's just a super little book, you know, it's very basic, and I've kept it and I treasure it because my mum gave me it. Along with my stitch ripper and various other useful gadgets. This is a fish. This is a fish. I shall try and show you it a bit closer. I made this a very long time ago when I was doing a BTEC in art and design. And I went home from college, we had to draw something or other, I can't remember what the topic was now, but I got a piece of salmon out of the freezer and I drew and I stitched and I created this 3D fish. And it's funny, when anybody comes to my studio they always make a beeline for my fish, and he's so old now, I think he goes that way, he's really, he's quite scruffy and dirty now, but he's my friend and he lives here and he has a little place. One day, sometimes he hangs up like that. He's a bit goggly-eyed, I have to say, but he really needs his own little special shelf. But I'm going to pop him on there for now. So I think that's about it for this. I'm just going to show you this. This was something I made. My friend Jane, who's actually a textile artist, come sheep farmer locally. She ran a series of workshops, I don't know, a couple of years ago now. And I made this with her and I absolutely love it because I just went and played at her studio and had a lot of fun. So this is made from paper, don't you hear it like that? It's paper and stitched, and we used, I think it was wallpaper paste. So it's got inside, it's got like muslin scrim sort of fabric, and then I put the papers on top, and then actually I stitched into it. I mean, it could be a lovely lampshade, but I just like it as a sort of a sculptural piece. It's got bits of map on there, it's got bits of dress, what do you call them? Dress patterns, you know, when you're making dresses, clothing patterns. And I just love it for all the marks because it's like a landscape. And I made a big one and I made a little one. That was just a bit more fun. It's just got different bits of paper. It wasn't a particular theme, but I really like that one because it's like the landscape that I see outside my window. So it's always good fun to go and do things you're not going to use necessarily in your making directly. It's a bit like drawing. I do a lot of drawing these days. It's not necessarily directly what I'm going to use. I mean, I may never do paper and wallpaper paste and scrim ever again, but I love doing it, and it's always something a bit different that might take you in a new direction, or it just feeds your creativity, and that's always a good thing. So I'll pop those back up there. And the other thing I was going to show you, I think that's about it really. Oh yes, in here. I'll come a bit closer so you can see me. Perhaps I should sit down. Take the weight off my legs. I just thought I'd show you this. It's all these things I've got on my bookshelf that I've kind of forgotten about. This was a little folder that I made. It was called, Embroidered Textile Decoration, Resolved Samples. That sounds very posh, doesn't it? You can tell that was from college. Inside is a sweet little thing. I think I'll try and hold it up like that. It's got, this is done with soluble fabric. And I have to say, I really would like to teach soluble fabric, but I'm a little bit concerned that I've discovered that soluble fabric is made from PVA. And I'm just a little bit concerned that that's a plastic. So I'm currently on the hunt for something that I can use as an alternative, because I really do like it as a way of creating surfaces and structures and a lovely lacy effect. But as I say, I'm going to try and, if anybody knows of anything that's an organic sort of plant-based or something soluble, that would be great. And the other thing that's in this little folder is a funny little piece. I don't know whether that's going to focus on that. I'll try and get it to focus on it. This is one of the very earliest pieces that I did, and I can find the book that it came from. It was, so this is one of the earliest books that I found when I was just starting my textile journey. It's Jan Beaney and Jean Littlejohn, and I'm sure most of you will have heard of them. They're a fantastic dynamic duo who've really revolutionised textile art. They've played such a huge part in making it what it is today. This was a very early book that I bought, I think, when I went on a trip to Scotland with my husband when we were first married. And it's got lovely things in here. See, that's got lovely things that they've drawn, and then that feeds into their making, into their textile art. Looking at the shapes, looking at patterns, things in the landscape. And from it, I can't remember where the actual thing is now. But this was before I actually could do free machine embroidery. I just used to try and stitch. So I don't know if you can see that. I'll try and show you it there. It's a page with little patches on, and I took this as an idea, and this is a little sample of it, and I just took little squares and I cut up all the textured fabrics that I could find. There were lots of sort of dressmaking things and scraps, and as I say, it was before I could free machine embroider, so each of those was stitched down just using my normal presser foot. But it was like an early attempt at doing something with textile art, and I just love it. So I'm very fond of this book. It'll stay on my bookshelf. That's them on the back. They probably don't look like that anymore. That looks like 1980s. So anyway, that's another little treasure on my bookshelf. So I think, as I said before, I'm so grateful to the little mouse, because it's made me sort of tackle an area of my studio that I wasn't really planning to do, and I feel so much better for it. I've really got a bit of organisation going on, and I'm going to work my way around and do some more, and I may or may not show you that. So I hope you've enjoyed my little show and tell, a little glimpse into my studio, a little look at some of my treasures. Some of them I might do into future maybe workshops or tutorials or whatever. But there is quite a lot to get your teeth into up here. So I hope you'll have a lovely creative week, and I will see you next time in my studio. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for subscribing. What a great start to 2021. Let's just get stitching.